Hi, I'm Erik Collier with the Collier Group. I'm holding in my hands two real genuine offers for purchase. They're both similar and they're different. They're similar because we've got two homes in the same neighborhood. They're on the same street even. They're similar in price, similar in size, and similar in amenities. But this home sold for 92.5% of asking price. This home, in only 7 days on the market, had two offers, had a bidding war, and it sold for 101.7% of asking price. Now, I'm sure you're curious, as would I would be, what are the factors involved? How come that home sold for that much more money, almost 9% more money? What are the factors involved? What are the different variables that affected the outcome? Well, that's exactly what I want to talk to you today about, and over the next 7 weeks. What I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about a proven, repeatable home selling system backed by market research designed to give homeowners up to 18% more money than they could if they would deploy the traditional methods of how real estate has been sold in the past. We're talking about something completely different, and that's what we want to do. So over the next few weeks, we're going to break apart and look at in each individual area the factors that can appreciably add 3 to 5% to your bottom line. That's the difference between $5, $10, $15, $20, even $30,000 or more back into your pocket as a result of selling your home for a higher price. So what we're going to do now is jump into law number 1, which is our first law in a 7-law series. I want to talk to you about the law of expertise. Law number 1 of expertise. Law number 1, which is the law of expertise, is how we price the home, how we position the home in its current marketplace, which is going to determine what our final sales price is. How you price your home, how you introduce your home to the market, will have an effect on the perception of your home and the outcome of you selling your home. So what we're going to do before we talk about all the things that we do, we're going to talk about the traditional ways to price property and why it doesn't work. When I first got started in the business, I was taught how to do what's called a CMA, which is a comparative market analysis. And what you do when you're doing a CMA is you take a home, just like this, and you look within a 1-mile radius of that home, and you look at all the homes that have sold that are similar to your property, your subject property. And you're supposed to go back 6 months, no later than 6 months. And you look at what those final sales prices were, and you try to come up with an amount of what that home is going to sell for in today's market. Well, I found out very quickly that that is a very flawed way to evaluate property if it's your only and single point of measurement. I've seen people be off as much as 10 to 15%. So one side, you're overpricing your property. You come out on the market and people write you off immediately as an unmotivated, unrealistic seller. Right? So the house sits and sits and sits and sits. Or what if you underprice the property? That's just as bad. You practically give the home away and you're losing your equity that you built up in your home over many, many, many years. So the law of expertise tells us is what are we going to do beyond a CMA to try to figure out a pricing strategy for maximum payoff, right? To preserve your equity as much as possible, to get the home sold quickly and to get the home sold for the most amount of money possible in today's market, right? So the law of expertise tells us, let's find the sweet spot. How do we find the sweet spot? Well, not only does our group look at what's called a CMA, but we use that in conjunction with a lot of other data. One of the things that we look at here is we look at what's called an evaluation of outside threats. The evaluation of outside threats. Folks, these are 18 different key economic indicators that are going on in the larger economy that affect housing prices. So it's perfectly normal to want to know what's going on in the greater economy that could have put an upward or a downward pressure on your final sales price, isn't it not? So one of the things that we do is we look at pending ratios. Pending ratios. Okay, pending ratios are very easy to figure out. Pending ratios is taking all of the homes in the marketplace. So let's just say there's 50 total. And out of the 50 homes on the market, there are 25 that are under contract or pending or show for backups. And that tells us that we have a 50% pending ratio. 50%. That's pretty good. Anything north of 50% is going to be a seller's market. And anything below, of course, is going to be a buyer's market. Using the pending ratio is going to determine how we price the property. Are we pricing ourselves to where the homes are going to appreciate? Are we trending up? Which means that that needs to be a critical factor in how we price the home. Or is the economy or the pending ratios constricting? So we can price ourselves ahead of that market to get the home sold. So we're not always reacting and having to simply cut and reduce the price to just keep pace with what's going on in the market. So 50% is a balanced market. That's pretty good. So that's one of the things that we look at. One of the other things that we look at is we look at interest rates. As of today, interest rates are extremely low. They're the best they've been in quite some time. And naturally, we've seen buyers come out of the woodwork, stop renting, and start getting into home ownership. Knowing what interest rates are doing is going to help us get our home sold and price our home accordingly. You might not know, but interest rates can fluctuate daily. They go up and they go down, and they're everywhere in between. And for every 1% interest rates go up, that cuts into buyers' buying power by 10%. So let's just say you're a buyer that can qualify for a $200,000 home today at 4%. And if interest rates go up to 5%, then your money is only going to be able to get you $180,000 worth of a home. And what if they go up to 6%? Then that means that your money is only going to stretch to get you $160,000 worth of a home. Well, so what happens when interest rates go up, buyer demand for homes goes down. And so what that means, if you have a lot of inventory, it really relies on the law of supply and demand. So if there's more supply, you have to price your home accordingly. Same thing is true if demand is high as well. So we look at interest rates. The other thing that we look at is we look at major decisions by employers. Major decisions by employers. If you know what's been going on up at the Kansas Speedway is a perfect example. In recent years, the Speedway, Kansas Speedway, that area has just exploded. Shops, attractions, racing, I mean, it's just increased the demand for homes year over year over year. Cerner is a big corporation that's bringing hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs to that area. So what do you think is going to happen for demand for housing? Demand for housing is going to go up because naturally those people are going to want to live close to where they work, and they're going to want to buy a home. So if you're a seller in that market, you're in a good position, right? And that's one of the things that we're going to factor in when we price your home. If you look at a company like Garmin in South Olathe, about 151st and I-35, you'll notice that before Garmin, homes were selling, and then after Garmin and all the employees moved in, that market literally exploded almost overnight. Property values went up and up and up and up, right? But there's also areas in Kansas City where we're in decline. There's many areas where people are moving out of the area, people are losing jobs, and demand for housing is at an all-time low. So using that information can help us to price your home accordingly. The other thing that we look at is we look at unemployment rates. Unemployment rates, another good key economic indicator. Unemployment rates, again, will tell us the demand for housing. If people are losing their jobs, if people are short selling their home or their homes are getting foreclosed on, that is a perfect example of a market you don't want to be in. I had a client just about 6 months ago, and we priced their home, And then 2 weeks later, a foreclosure came on the market, and that diminished our final sales price. And so we were really kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. We had to make some tough decisions. But that was after the fact, and we reacted and we did the best thing that we could in that situation. But if we would have known that information, if we were able to have a crystal ball and somehow predict that that was going to happen, then we could have gotten ahead of the market and we could have factored that in and probably sold it for a lot quicker than we could have. We sold it actually for a lot more than I thought we would, and it didn't take long at all, but it was because we had an aggressive marketing strategy that really proved that concept. So again, that's the law of expertise, right? The law of expertise is basically telling us how we come out the moment we come on the market, how we price, how we position our home, how we find that sweet spot, and we take the data and turn that data into information, which turns it into actionable, concrete steps, is going to determine 3 to 5% to your bottom line. So doing this area correctly will appreciably add 3 to 5% more money into your bottom line. So that was the law of expertise. Next time we're going to be talking about law number 2, which is the law of differentiation. Okay, so once we have our home priced and we go on the market, we take our pictures, we do all the things that we do to market the home. And the first day that we go on the market, what do we do to drive up demand for your home? What do we do to be the red suit in the sea of gray suits? Because the reality is there are thousands of other competitors out there trying to get sold just like you. So what do we do that's different, that's unique, that gets the buyer's attention? Well, we're going to be talking about that and more. And we're going to be talking about in that area alone how you can add another 3 to 5% to your bottom line.